Hey everyone, this is Ross Harrison back from Precision Health and Fitness, and I've got something a little different for you today. So, anybody who knows me or is familiar with my training knows that I like to sort of learn about a lot of different fields and modalities and blend them together into sort of my own thing. Um, there's definitely things I take straight from other practices, physical therapy or performance enhancement or various things, yoga, Pilates, whatever, um, and use those. But I also like to sort of, as much as I can, take the best from different fields. So this is something I've been playing with. This is the first, I don't even know what to call this, exercise movement. It's sort of an exercise, it's sort of a stretch, release. But that's essentially what I'm doing more of, is combining strengthening your muscles with loosening them at the same time. So this is something that is designed to work your abs, particularly your lower abs, and release tension through like your IT band and somewhat through the hip flexor. All things that people want, so why not combine them and make something even better? I will also say this is a fairly simple motion. The activity itself can be fairly intense. So to do a full range, you need a decent level of core strength, particularly lower abdominals, transverse abdominis, the muscle that really does a lot to support your lumbar spine. So if you're not familiar with that and haven't done like some of the back flattening and leg exercises that I've shown in other videos throughout the years, definitely practice those. But anybody can do these. It's just you'll change the range of motion, and I'll show that real quick right now. So this is one leg's going to be straight. The side you're working, I should say, is going to be straight because it does involve a fairly significant range of muscle. The other leg should be bent, knee around 90 degrees, bend, just in a comfortable position. This leg is to give you support and to help you relax. So if you wanted to start and play with this, you can start with your leg up high. If you're more familiar with it and comfortable with it, you can start with your leg on the ground or just raise it a little bit. I know my lower leg, foot, whatever, is off screen. It really doesn't matter. I wanted to get a closer view of the middle of the body because that's really, this is the most important spot, the back. As some of the things I've talked about before, the most fundamental thing with this in particular is keeping your back flat throughout the whole thing. Not even just keeping it flat, but actually intensely pushing into the ground, which is, a lot of the stuff I do doesn't have this level of push intensity, but that's where your core strength is going to come from. It's also where the release comes from. So very important. If you start feeling like you're not having your back totally flat or you're unable to keep pressure into the ground, it means that you've gone too low, your leg is too close to the ground, and it basically nullifies the entire intent of this exercise. So, okay, assuming I'm going to start with the more advanced one and we can back it off really easily, but you'll go one hand behind your head and you can use it for support as much as you want. Don't pull with your hand though. If it really is, I like to use my hand as little as possible. Usually with ab stuff I don't have my hand up here at all. This is a little different. The purpose being that it helps stretch things out, and this is as much of a releasing movement as is the strengthening one. It's an odd combination, but anyway. So if I start flat, first thing I'm going to do is push my back into the ground. Then I'm going to come up a little bit like that. This is about as high as you need to go. From here, the challenge is really slowly lowering both the upper body and the leg. And so as I get here, and it is harder to talk and do this, but so as I get here, I mean, my abs are working. I'm shaking somewhat. You can probably see that. My leg's still off the ground. and some of my upper back is still off the ground. So all the muscles in here are still tight. And then as I get really close, it gets even harder, and then, okay, my leg touches the ground and pretty much here I relax. And then my back naturally curves. So not a big motion, but it works pretty intensely. So here's the reason. So I'll say, like, if I would be doing this, that does nothing close to what I just showed you. There's movements like that in all kinds of fitness things, or moving, doing like the cross leg, whatever. That's not going to work your body in any of the same fashion as doing it really slowly, really intensely, keeping your back flat. The reason, and it'll be obvious why your core is working. Your core is working really hard. Your low abs you will feel intensely. No weight is needed. It's not like put a 10-pound weight around my leg or anything. You don't need anything for this to be intense. So the reason it's a release is as you're coming down slowly, you're actually stretching through your body. And the slowness of keeping the back flat with the slowly lowering the leg is actually forcing is a bad word. It's causing some of the tight muscles through like the IT band or hip flexors to have to release some of their tension. It's a very interesting dynamic, but try it, play with it, it works. If that position is too challenging, you can still do the exact same motion with the lowering from here. Just start with your leg up here. And the first thing, actually first I would just take this out of it altogether and just lower my leg, keeping the back really flat, pushing in the ground, just to find the spot where, like, if it's here, if you start feeling here, like, oh, I'm releasing some tension, like right now my back is pretty much off the ground. It's hard to see, but like that's flat, that's not. I mean, I'm sort of over exaggerating, but like it's not a big difference, but you can feel it pretty intensely, because once your back arches, you'll notice your abdominal tension decreases significantly. So I'm going to show this from the other side too, because there's a number of things where, like, the two sides of my body are very different. The structure of my hip, I mean, between hip replacement, leg length differences, having a fusion for 20 plus years, this side does not work the same. Not at all. And this is one of those cases where I'll do the exact same thing, and you can take a look at it again and really just pay attention to how hard I am working to keep my back flat, because it is significantly tougher on this side. So same thing, I come up. This position, it's easy to have the back flat. The curve up here helps do that. So as this is coming down, keeping the back flat becomes tougher, even if the leg stays in the same position. So from here, I start coming down. And so the reason this is tougher is the muscles on this side of my hip are significantly shorter than they should be. They have been for many, many years. So when I get to here, my upper body can easily keep going. That's lowering is pretty easy. But I start feeling a lot more resistance here, to where I'm just going to take the upper part out of it. I have to focus a lot more to keep pressure against the ground, to the point where it's almost like, feels like if my leg goes any lower, it's not going to happen. But it's not because I have to, like, I can't do it with my abs. It's because my leg is stuck in this position. And so even if, like, I would put my other leg on here and try to push down, if I keep my back flat, it's not going. If I release just a little, sure, my leg's on the ground. That's easy. But if I keep the tension here, these muscles are so much shorter and so much more tense, I physically can't put my leg on the ground if I keep my back flat. And so something like that tells me, and which I know, this side is way too tight. It lost a lot of length over the years, so the muscle physically just is not long enough to fully straighten. Fortunately, most people don't have that issue, but sometimes through inactivity and postural issues, we do lose significant amounts of muscle, and actual muscle length, not just like muscle size, the contractile elements will shorten, which is one of the reasons posture is so important. And when things get really out of hand, it becomes very hard over decades to undo it because the muscles are not the same length as they used to be. So in this case, I just wanted to show that because it feels very different. Like this side is way more intense. I actually get to a point where it no longer stretches. It feels like if I try to push further, it starts turning into pain because the muscle just can't stretch any further. Still, over time it can loosen up some. It just takes a lot longer. And that's a good rule. Just your two sides of your body are different. Everybody's are. Like different joints are different. Our dominant side usually has more tension, sometimes less range of motion, even though it has more strength and more function at times. Both sides are different. Don't expect both sides to be the same, but regardless of how my legs move, the core is staying flat the entire time. Like on one side, if I notice that, when I get to here, I can't go any further, okay, fine. Maybe on the other side, you can get all the way to the ground with no problem, or you can't hold it up here. It's totally fine. There's no rules that say, and I'm saying this because I work with a lot of people and this is a common issue. There's no rule that says if one leg did it a certain amount, the other one should do the same. Because people tend to push past what's healthy because they want symmetry. Like we all want symmetry. You want it to feel the same. It's just a natural instinct. With this, completely do not worry about that. Just worry about keeping your back flat, pushing into the ground. As you straighten out, as your leg gets closer to the ground, the ab contraction should become significantly more intense. If you don't feel your abs, this is maybe a little too simple, but really not. If you don't feel your abs when you're doing this, it is not done right. Because it's a small movement, but it's intense. And it can be an intense stretch too, depending on how tight things are. The good news is it can make your abs, especially your low abs, significantly stronger, more toned, and it can loosen up a lot of the muscles that actually cause things like hip and knee pain and back pain and other stuff. So it's a very simple thing that can do a ton for your body. So take it, use it, tell me how it works for you. I hope it works great, and I hope you're feeling great. So take care. Ross Harrison, Precision Health and Fitness, and have a great day.